So there you
Tiff,
go.
thank
Yeah.
you, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, guys. I am going to hopefully bring you some value this morning. I'm going to run through kind of a crash course on what we do from the moment that we get a listing lead or a listing inquiry up until the property is listed. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the chat, make a note, and then I can come back and revisit. Tiff, real quick, do I have co-host capability to screen share?
You do have screen share. You do not have co-host yet.
Okay, I'm not good with all this Zoom stuff, so if I don't need co-host, don't worry. As long as I'm able to screen share, right?
Yeah, you should be able to screen share.
Okay. All right. So from the moment we get a listing lead or an inquiry, the first thing that we'll do is set up a seller pre-qualification call. So you want to pre-qualify 100% of sellers 100% of the time. I don't care if it's your cousin. You're going to run the same systemized approach, and you're going to be thorough from start to finish, right? So if you guys, some of this may be redundant to some of you. You may have your standard seller questionnaire. If you guys need a copy of it, I can get it to you. Some of the most important questions on this questionnaire are going to be what they feel their current home is currently worth, what price they are not willing to go below. Obviously, you're going to ask them questions about the property, and then you'll be able to get an idea of their DISC profile, their personality trait, by the way they answer these questions. If they're real detailed about the property, yes, it has R13 insulation, upgraded hurricane windows that were put in last year with a 16 SEER AC system, you know their analyticals, right? So that'll give you an idea of the kind of person that you're dealing with. So kind of pay attention to that. Obviously, you're going to dig into motivation, go 3 levels deep on your questioning, because you're gathering information at this point, and it's real important, okay? You know, you'll have some agents that'll get a listing lead and tuck their tail between their legs and run out to the property and get all excited. You've got to, this is a critical step. So you've got to make sure you're pre-qualifying 100% of your sellers 100% of the time. One of the other questions that some agents are afraid to ask, which you really need to know, is are you interviewing any other agents for the position or the job of selling your home, right? So you're not going to suddenly give them an idea to do that if they haven't. If they're doing it, they're doing it. So you need to know so that you can be prepared. I'll go as far to say as who you're interviewing and try to find out, because then I can pull information on that agent. I mean, I'm not going to slag them off or badmouth them per se, but I'm able to maybe educate the seller that they haven't done this many units in this area, whatever it may be. You don't want the seller to end up in a weak agent with a weak agent in a weak moment. So there are conflicting, I guess, opinions about whether you should go first or last. If you're real strong and you're a strong closer, get in the door first, right? Are you interviewing any other agents for the job of selling your home? Yes, I've got 2 agents coming out on Thursday afternoon. Try to get in there Thursday morning or Wednesday afternoon, okay? If you, some people prefer to go last. So if you're strong, I would get in first. If not, I would probably opt to go last, right? What else? 3 qualities. I like asking this question. 3 qualities that they're looking for in a realtor. And so just to get them an idea and get them to think, right? So that you have an idea of what's important to them. So if you guys want a copy of this pre-qualification, let me know. I'll get it to Tiffany, or I'll drop it in the chat, or we'll get it to you guys. But that's important. So that's what we'll do, step 1, and then we'll set the appointment. Leading up to the appointment, if you have an excuse, or make an excuse to call them, right? Because you want to build a relationship a little bit before you get there. So generally what I'll do is I'll call them back, say I booked that call for a Tuesday, I booked the appointment for Thursday. I'll call them back on Wednesday and say, hey, John, I was just going through the property appraiser's records and there's some conflicting information on the square footage. Is it this or is it this? And then maybe we have a little bit of banter or dialogue. It just builds the relationship a little bit leading up to the appointment. Now, what we do, and I can also get you a copy of this as well, Michelle will send out, after that initial phone call, she's going to send out an email that has my resume, And then it has a marketing, it's like a marketing email. So it shows some prior properties that we've marketed with aerial imagery, video, and a little bit of information or a blurb about some of our marketing techniques. We then also, going back to, we book the call on a Tuesday, or we have the call on a Tuesday, book the appointment on Thursday. On that Wednesday, we'll drop off a pre-listing packet, right? So pre-listing packet, brown manila envelope. Please review this prior to our appointment. Leave it on their front doorstep. If they are out of state, something like that, you can shoot it to them via email. If you want a copy of the pre-listing pack, I'm not going to have time to get into it today, but I can get that for you as well. I'm gonna screen share because I know this is a lot, and unfortunately, you guys are gonna have to listen to me speak for a minute. Let me see if I can screw this up, Tiff. Hold on. Where do I go? There it is. Okay, bear with me, you guys.
You got
Hold
this.
on.
I have faith in you. You got this, Steve.
Right? I tell you. I should think I'd have this figured out by now.
I was gonna say this.
Deep's
just
putting
between
pressure on me.
the
Deep's watching me. I feel pressure.
hosts. Yeah.
All right, hold on. Do you guys see that?
Not yet.
What do you guys see?
Not
nothing?
blank screen.
It's just black, Steve.
Oh, now it
now
we see your
Oh,
email.
some guy over there with a tie
There you
on.
go.
Hold on,
Alright,
I'm getting leads off of his email right now.
So, all right, so this video will go out the day before the appointment. Why I feel this is important is hardly any other agents are doing it, number one. And number two is it lets them know what's in store at the appointment. And then if you listen to the end of the video, it mentally gets them prepared. You're asking them to fill out disclosures, maybe have a copy of keys. So let's see if I can pull it up. Come on, Steve, work with me here.
You can do it. You can do it.
Not doing it, Deep.
Steve,
Laura's the brains behind the operation. That's what it is.
Hey, you know what though, Tiff? I did have trouble with sound last time.
I was
tried
gonna
to do-
say, did you share with sound?
I don't know. How do I do
Here,
that?
I'll walk you through it. Stop sharing for just a second.
Guys, bear with me. Text Steve. This is why I need to be on Robert's call on Wednesday.
If you
Okay,
stop sharing,
okay.
now, when you click the share screen, when it gives you the options as to which screen to share, there's a little checkbox option at the bottom that says share with sound. Do you
Got
see
it?
Yep, and then choose that screen again. And now when you play the video, we'll be able to hear it.
God, we're good.
Robert, we should put a timer on. Tick, tick.
So
tick,
I gotta.
tick, tick.
All right, ready?
Hi, this is your realtor Steve Pugh, HPR
Oh,
Group, EXP Realty. We'd like to send out this quick video prior to appointments, just so you guys know what to expect during and after our appointment. First and foremost, I want to thank you for considering us for the presentation, marketing, and sale of your property. We're going to kind of be covering three main things tomorrow at our appointment. Number one, obviously it gives us a chance to meet each other, see if we're a fit, and we even want to work together. Number two, we'll be reviewing motivation and goals, your motivation and your goals, and what's most important to you as a direct result of this transaction. And number three, if you feel comfortable and confident at the conclusion of our appointment, go ahead and activate that next step and move forward. So you should have had a package dropped off at your door, just to kind of be proactive with some seller's disclosures, and if you live in HOA community, an HOA disclosure. If you can go ahead and fill those out prior to our appointment, that would be a great help. And also with the understanding that if we agree to move forward, we're going to go ahead and need a copy of a key. All right? So excited to meet you tomorrow. Look forward to our appointment, and thank you.
all right, there you go. So covering three things, right? It's an opportunity for us to get to meet each other and see if we even want to work together. Number two, review motivation, goals, and price, what's important to you about the transaction. And number three, if you feel comfortable and confident, move forward and activate that next step. So those are the three things that you're going to put in that video, and then mentally prepare them by asking them to fill out those disclosures and have a copy of the key. It's strong, But you know what I mean? It gets them into the mindset, and probably nobody else is doing that. So that's something we will do leading up to the appointment. So what I want to run through now is, let me run through the actual listing presentation. Generally, when I get to the property, it's always knock on the door, shoes on, shoes off. I always make sure I ask that. People have different opinions. I prefer to have them at the kitchen table with my pre-list pack, so that they're looking again at reviews or testimonials. You know, other people want to walk through the house with them. That's up to you. I mean, some people say it builds rapport. I prefer to walk through on my own, because my only challenges or reservations are is if they walk through with me, they're going to point out all the great things about the house, and they're going to build the value of the house in their own mind. So it's just maybe a little bit of a setback when you're coming to pricing, especially if you have somebody that has already told you they're a little bit overpriced when you did your seller pre-qualification, or they're expecting a higher price. I don't want to tell you one way is better than another, but kind of find your groove. So after I walk through the property, I'll obviously take notes, come back, sit down at the kitchen table, and really dig in with them first and foremost about why I'm there, right? Why I'm there, go 3 deep on your questions, what's important to them about this whole thing. If in a perfect world, how would it play out? What would it look like? And really dig in with them on what's important. With respect to commission, obviously we know you're never going to handle commission objections over the phone. It's always going to be in person, right? So when I first start out my presentation, I let them know, because I handle the objection almost up front. Commission's important to you, and it should be, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go on a discovery process right now and find out why investing in me is going to bring you the highest net return in the shortest amount of time. So that's how I'll start out, just to validate at the end why we get paid what we pay, why we get paid what we get paid. So I'm going to try to do this again, Tiff. We'll screen share, and I'm going to run through the whole presentation. And hopefully I don't bore you guys. Bear with me. Oh, don't start. I've got an assistant checklist too, a listing checklist as well that I can share with you guys. There's kind of a checklist for Michelle, runs a lot of the back of the house stuff, but it's a checklist of step by step. Okay, so this is our listing presentation. I'm going to run through it kind of quick. Some of them are not going to be applicable to you guys. I mean, if you want a copy of this, let me know. So basically, we're just going to thank you for considering our team. A little bit about our brokerage and the history. So to build credibility. Our promise, we have 4 promises to our seller clients. I won't label every one. Okay, so I'll hit on this. 3 P's of real estate. In the old market, Mr. Seller, you didn't have to be a great agent, right? You stuck a sign in the front yard, first P. You put it on the MLS and you pray that it sold. Sellers were telling agents what prices they want to list at, and agents were getting lucky and selling because everything and anything was selling. In this new market, you need a strong agent that's going to employ the additional piece, right? Prospect daily to find buyers for our sellers, sellers for our buyers. You won't get a hold of us between 8:30 and 12:30 every day because we're busy lead generating, looking for buyers for our sellers, sellers for our buyers. We price watch every day to stay on top of the market, and we're constantly promoting. So that's how we'll break that down. This is our marketing plan. I'm not going to hit on every one, but we do 9 times out of 10, we'll hit on all these things. So we'll door knock. And then open houses. Let me touch on this with you guys. If your open house campaign is a big part of your listing plan or what you're going to do to help them sell this house, make sure you ask them, because if you build hype around this open house plan that you're running, and they don't like open houses, or they don't want people walking through their home, you've kind of lost. So make sure you ask them up front, how do you feel about open houses, right? If they say, yeah, no problem, So basically, we have a system where we will take photography on Wednesday, we go live on a Thursday, we know showings, we build demand, and we cram showings into a mega open house weekend on a Saturday and a Sunday. We'll circle prospect. We actually call up to 200 people around the surrounding property. We'll door knock. And then your door knocks prior to the open house, for you door knockers out there, I know Liz knows, but basically, if you're door knocking the day before, the day of, you're coming from a place of contribution, right? So, hey, listen, with Mr. Homeowner, just to give you a heads up, you may see an increase in traffic. We're doing an open house this weekend, so be prepared. We're reserving the first 30 minutes of that open house for people just like yourself that live in the neighborhood. And by the way, do you know of anybody looking to make a move right now? So there's kind of your quick door knocking script. I'll send all this to you guys so you can have a breakdown on these 14 points, but that's what we employ in terms of our listing plan of action. We include in there a home sale timeline. A lot of times sellers have, a preconceived notion about the longevity of a sale. And they think maybe it's too soon, I shouldn't list right now. When in reality, you're looking at 2 to 3 months before a close date anyway. So you got to break down on that. This is our media plan. Basically, we'll do a just listed postcard on every property, a custom property website that the photographer does. I mean, if you need a good referral on a photographer that does their own custom property website, I can get that to you guys. And then obviously we have a social media blast when a property goes active or when there's an open house. So this I stole off of Fred DeFalco. So right here, I make sure I hit on this. And then also at the top, there may be a way for you guys, if you could leverage EXP, there may be a way for you guys to do the same, but I have sellers pull out their cell phone, literally in the appointment, and search realtor in St. Cloud, Florida, and we'll pop up in the top 3. Just to show them the power. If they have somebody up north searching in St. Cloud, what it may be, then we're right there front and center. And then I let them know that only approximately 700 homes in the MLS have walkthrough videos. Yours is going to be one of them. So obviously that puts a little bit of a special spin on it. Good versus bad photography. Obviously, we know, guys, you'll see some crazy stuff. I like to highlight to sellers the importance of aerial imagery, possible Matterport, walkthrough videos, especially with the amount of buyers coming from up north. So contact, right? How many times do we hear, oh, the agent listed my house and then I never heard from him again? So I can also get this to you too if you make a note, but we have a follow-up email that goes out every Friday, and it'll let the client know who showed the house, what they said, if we can track down feedback from agents. Sometimes it's difficult. Exactly what they said about the property. If there's any active listings that came up to compete with their property in that week, if any properties went pending in terms of competition, and if any closed. So they will get that weekly, and we let them know that during the listing appointment. The communication is key. Staging, if applicable. MLS syndication. So we just let them know that once it goes into the MLS, it's syndicated. There's some obscure sites on here, but this is the slide we run with. MLS International, obviously with EXP. So it's marketed in over 70 countries. We use that to build the exposure. This is our open house strategy from start to finish, just letting them know what we do with respects to open houses. I picked this up too. I thought this was good. This, before you get into pricing with them, they've got to think about whose house they want to sell, right? Yours or your neighbor's. So, you know what I mean? If they're going to overprice, like we just did one, we have a community here called Turtle Creek. There was 6 properties active. We went in as the 7th last week, and we went pending. We're the only one that went pending. So it's just the power of correct pricing, and it's educating these sellers. You know, it's a tale of two markets right now. You've got 80% of sellers that are trying, they're the triers, they're still caught up in the old pricing. And you've got 20% of sellers who are actively pricing correctly, and their properties are going pending. So I'm sure you guys have seen this one before. So this is it's people through the door, right? It's demand. So if you're priced correctly, you're getting 6, 7 out of 10 people through the door. I let them know that my job for them is to get the most people through that front door as possible. And if we're in a position where we're overpricing, we're missing out on the market. So would they rather have an opportunity to negotiate offers or not have any offers at all? Okay. And obviously, the more under market value you go, the more percentage of buyers you're going to get through that door. This hits on days on the enemy, days on market is the enemy, right? Bottom line. So how I'll articulate it is, Mr. Seller, one of the first things our buyer clients will ask us when we're looking at property, what do you think that is? How long has it been on the market? Oh, yes, absolutely. That's exactly the first thing. And if we're responding with 75, 80 days, number one, they think there's something wrong with the property, or number two, they want to submit your low ball offer. So we've just got to be cognitive about days on the market and make sure that we're pricing correctly so it doesn't sit. This just reiterates activity. This is probably about right now. In the old market, this slide was not correct, but I would say peak activity is that 2 to 3 week mark right now. Okay, so obviously you guys may run a different commission structure, but this is what we do. And I'll tell you why we do it. So this is our smart seller listing plan. If we go to market and Joe, the neighbor, walks from across the street, sees the sign and said he has a cousin that wants to buy the house, at that juncture, I haven't earned my commission, right? So what I'll do for you, Mr. Seller, is I'll accommodate both sides and do it for 1%, okay? If we find the buyer directly as a result of our marketing efforts, whether that be the door knocking, the circle prospecting, the open house, then we charge 4%. And this incentivizes us to do the work because we want to sell it directly because it's our team's best scenario because we're making 4% commission. If there is another agent who brings the buyer and it's a co-broke position, then it's 3% and 3% for a total of 6%. We do have a premium listing plan. I probably don't upsell this enough because there are some extra incentives in there, but 9 times out of 10, we are getting the 6%. With the understanding that we're pushing the 4% because it actually incentivizes us to do the work and not sit on our asses, right, Mr. Seller? Because we want to make 4%, we don't want to make 3%. So at the end of the day, we are getting probably 90% of the time we're getting 6% on our listings. This was a slide just telling a little about the sitting inventory, about the amount of homes on the market versus old and new. This was just relative to my area. So maybe if you make a similar slide up, just portraying, you don't want to portray all doom and gloom, but maybe the area that you're in, go back and look at the inventory differences and try to portray that between a year and a half ago and now, so they understand. This was just something more granular in terms of the exact numbers. And this was a screenshot that I showed people. I pulled this obviously off of the MLS, just letting sellers know that I haven't seen that number of price decreases in a 3-day period in a very, very long time. So I'm just letting know that we don't want to get caught up and be one of those people that has to price decrease. State of Florida statistics: sold properties down 20%, pending sales down 27%, inventory up 47%. And then this is a big one. You cannot, property cannot be based upon what they need or what they want, right? And I'll articulate that, especially if they're in a move up position where they're looking to buy another property and a property is priced slightly higher, and you go back to them and say, hey, the seller wants $500,000. Well, why? Because they want to go buy a new boat. Are you going to pay them $500,000 for that property, or are you going to pay them what it's worth? So at the end of the day, it can't be based upon what they need, what they want, what the neighbor says, what an agent says. It's got to be based on what a buyer is willing to pay and a seller is willing to accept, on that buyer being ready, willing, and able. And these are just some of our stats. And we have a meet the team page so that they know who they're going to be dealing with. when they sign the listing agreement, obviously you set expectations about their next point of contact. We'll have a portfolio of excellence, obviously here in the back, recent sales, what we've done in and around their area, and then some testimonials. Our biggest thing too is hire us in confidence, fire us at any time. So we don't charge any type of cancellation fee. We're probably spending about $900 to $1,000 up front on each and every listing before it goes live. Knock on wood, we've never had anybody cancel, but rest assured you can if you want to, and there'll be no cancellation fee. And those are some of the organizations that we've given back to over the years. So that is about it. So the close, basically after that point, I will run through a comparative market analysis, and just hitting on features and benefits of each of the comparables. And after doing so, I will ask them, you know what I mean? I will say, so what price do you feel we should set on your home to create demand in the eyes of the buyer and get them to buy this home versus the competition? And then I have them name the price. And then obviously based on my professional recommendation and objections, we could probably do that another day, Tiff, if you want, where we could get into some objection handling if everybody's up for it.
Yes.
Because then, you know what I mean? You'll hit objections. I want to think about it.
So we're getting yeses in the
okay,
chat and some head
nice.
nods. So yeah, we'll coordinate for that one.
So yeah, guys, we can do that. We'll run into all you. What the thing is the more appointments you go on, you're going to hear the same objections, right? It's all a variance of the same thing. So we want to think about it. We have a friend who's a realtor. We want to interview another agent. We have another agent coming out. So you'll hear a lot of the same objections. So we can work on that. I hope you guys found value in that. I mean, it was a little short, but I've run through it before. I can definitely get you guys a copy of that. Is there any questions that popped up in the chat, Tiff?
Holly asked for your listing presentation. Do you have this on a laptop, printed and laminated, a tablet? How are you actually presenting the slides that you?
I'm presenting on a laptop.
Okay.
So yeah, I can.
And just so
get
everyone knows, and shout out to Steve, I sent an email to Michelle and I was like, Steve is currently on the call showing this stuff and we have an overwhelming amount of requests for this content. So can you slide that over? So I am working on getting that stuff from Michelle, guys.
Okay, and you guys can tweak it and you have any questions. I mean, I built it over time and it seems to work well. You want to build that value before you get into that commission structure. If you want to adopt that same commission structure, that's on you. But Liz has a question. Liz, what do you got?
Steve, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking your time this morning. This was so powerful. And I know the very high D in you has this very short and sweet. So I'm curious to know, I have actually two questions. First, like how long are you spending on your listing appointments? And the second thing is, have you walked away from a listing appointment where you and the seller couldn't come to agreement on pricing because they want to overprice?
Absolutely.
I think this is important for the agents to know.
Yeah, the answer to that second question is absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll let them know. I'm not going to take you. You'll have somebody that'll walk in here and tell you a price that you want to hear. That's called buying a listing. So basically, they're telling you a price that you want to hear just so they can get you to sign a multi-month contract and then proceed to beat you up on the price week after week after week. I have the courage to tell you the truth, right? I'm not going to take you. It's going to be detrimental to you in the long run. I'm not going to take you this listing over price because I don't want to do you or me a disservice. So to answer your question, yes. What was the first one, Liz? What was the first question? Sorry.
And how long, thank you so much. That was an amazing answer. You heard that, guys. Walk away from overpriced listings. They're going to waste your time and money. And the second question is, how long are you guys staying at your typical listing appointment? Are you there for 30 minutes, an hour? What are you typically spending at a listing appointment?
So, I mean, most of you know, I'm learning based, I'm coachable, right? I'm still learning here. So I was under the guise that my time needed to be an hour tops, right? But then Ibrahim got on that call and kind of sold me on, you know what, Steve, maybe I need to slow down and maybe there doesn't need to be a time constraint. So the one that I just did on Monday, I was there for an hour and 45 minutes. Hey, and by the way, this doesn't happen all the time, right? But I was, and I'm not trying to be an ass when I say this, but I was door knocked to listed in 6 days. So basically the woman was friggin' outside. It's doing the activities, but it's doing them constantly. That's all it is. Even me, I'm still out there. The lady was outside raking some leaves. Here's a market report. Just keeping you updated on what's going on in your neighborhood. You know what I mean? I'll be back in 30 days. And by the way, do you know of any neighbors? You don't want to ask them if they're selling because their defenses come up. You want to ask them, hey, do you know of your neighbors that are looking to make a move? She turns around, she said to me, yeah, we're looking to sell. So I was like, what? But yeah, so listed to door knock in 6 days. So they're out there. You just got to get into action. So, thank you, Liz, for saying that. I appreciate you. You know, saying to taking my time. I appreciate that. Shannon, what do you got?
Hi, good morning. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I have a question. I'm a very new agent and I was on a listing appointment last year and the realtor brought a bunch of comps and sat down at the table and went over the comps in the area and how it related or correlated to the house that we were trying to list. I've heard recently that not a lot of people do that anymore. Is it depending upon the personality type or what are your thoughts?
I'm with you. So I'm trying to understand, Shannon. So they're not bringing comparable data, or they're not running through a CMA. Is that what you're saying?
No, that they did run through a CMA at the table, pulled the
Okay.
comps ahead of time, sat down, had why this house listed for this amount because it has this compared to the house that we're trying to list.
Absolutely. That's what we do, and that's what you need to do. And now you need to be looking at actives and pendings and the features and benefits of both on each particular property, and try to determine, obviously ahead of time, why a particular property went pending and why another one is still active, so you can articulate that to the seller and show them. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, you need to do your homework. That's a big deal.
For a new agent, it's tough knowing what the value is. Like say someone has a garage, the house you're trying to list doesn't have a garage. Someone has a certain amount of square footage. Like is that just experience that comes with it, or is there somewhere you can go or talk to?
You know, Kelly Kellogg has she's an appraiser. She's a local appraiser. She has a form that gives some basic adjustments in terms of if a property has an extra bedroom but it's similar square footage. Let me get that over to you. Drop your email in the chat, Shannon, and I'll get it over to you, and it'll kind of help you out. Because then you can make adjustments on that, and you could even take that form with you and say, hey, this is from a licensed appraiser. Because I tell my client, this is what I tell them during the listing presentation. So cash, Mr. Seller, cash is going to want you here, okay? I want to get you, my job is to get you up here. My goal is to go into any given neighborhood and get the highest price per square foot in the last 6 months, right? If I need you up here, it's going to involve financing, which is going to involve an appraisal, okay? That being said, per appraisal guidelines, an appraiser per uniform standard residential guidelines is going to go 2 miles out from the subject. Unless they can find enough comparables in the direct subdivision, they're going to go up to 2 miles out and 6 months back. So they are going to be looking at the same data that I'm showing you right now. So in terms of listing correctly, this is where we're at. You know, unless you want to sell your property cash. And then we don't have to worry, and just with the understanding that it's going to be a lower offer.
Hey, Steve, real quick.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
I think the issue she just raised is one of the biggest challenges that emerging agents deal with all the time. The very things she articulated. I don't know how much value to assign the garage, the pool, the fence, the this, the that. Is there any way we could get that sheet out to everyone instead of just emailing it to her?
Yeah, we
Because I
can.
think it would be super useful. I think it's truly one of the biggest challenges that newer agents face is like, well, how do I price this property? Because I don't know this stuff.
And I'm not an expert, right? I'm not an appraiser. What I will tell you is the higher the square footage on a property, the per square foot price drops. And if you're making comparable adjustments and a recent sale is sold at $200 a square foot, and the property you're comparing it to is 100 square feet bigger, do not do 100 times 200 and just add that together, because an appraiser doesn't do that. It's normally about 50%. When they make adjustments on an appraisal, it's normally about a 50% margin of that per square foot sold price. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Right? Because if you have a property that's 100 square feet bigger, you see one that's sold at $200 a square foot, your automatic thought is, well, let me just do 200 times 100 and I'll add that price to that sold comp. And that's my value. Don't do that, because the adjustments an appraisal will make is around 50% of that sold data. You with me? Of that price per square foot. But yeah, I can get it out to everybody. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's super useful to everybody.
Yeah.
I think somebody actually just put it in the chat. Did someone just put that in the chat?
I did,
Yeah.
Robert dropped it. It's a couple of years old, but it's a pretty good guidelines, just, take inflation into consideration a little bit, maybe add 10% one way or another. But I
Yeah.
think there's a more recent one out in our GPS, one of our GPS groups on Workplace, if I recall, because I think I dropped it.
That's another thing too, when you're comping up properties, do a 20% spread either way. So if you have a subject property, it's 1,000 square feet, whole comps between 800 to 1,200 square feet. Do about a 20% spread. And that, Robert, thank you for dropping that in there, man. That's a tough one, Shannon. I mean, I'm not a licensed appraiser. I guess a lot of it, I don't want to say it comes with experience. That form will help you. That form is probably the best tool that's going to get you closer. If it's a garage conversion or something like that, then you're really probably going to need help. Reach out to somebody, or even you could reach out to me and I'll look at it with you, or I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it because it is very tough when you're coming in and you're like, I have no idea how to do calls.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll drop my email and my phone number in the chat. And then if you have any additional questions, anybody else? You always ask anybody else, and then it's crickets. You're quiet this morning, Dee.
All right, I'll ask something. I love the way you broke down the commission aspect of it. Hey, if your neighbor picks, wants to buy, somebody you refer, it's going to be 4%. It's going to be this percent. That I love that it's in black and white. A lot of agents don't do that. I don't do that.
Well, it incentivizes us to do the work at the 4%, right? But then with the understanding that we want to hit that 4%, but we're going to tell them, look, worst case scenario, it's going to be 6. That's what we charge. It's 6% non-negotiable.
Yeah.
That's it. So, and 9 times out of 10, we'll get it signed at the 6%. So.
Absolutely. I agree with Deep. I just want to piggyback off of that. I always have the conversation with my sellers that that's something that I'm willing to do, but I never have it in black and white. So making it tangible, I feel like it's just going to be a huge imprint. Like it's just going to take my listing presentation to the next level. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for bringing that up, Deep, because I agree that is huge.
Not a problem. Build that value, Liz. When you build out your presentation, build out your listing plan, exactly what you're going to do. And then at the end, you're going to bring in commission, right? And all this for 6%, worst case scenario, that's what we're going to do. So, you know what I mean? And then the close, after they agree on price, the close is great. Let's go ahead and schedule photography. If they need to think about it, normally I'm going to start using the box-in technique, but basically you're asking them, there's only 3 things to think about, right? Number 1 is, do you want to sell this property? You go back and forth. Yes, they want to sell it. Number 2, we've pretty much agreed on price. after looking at the comparables and the CMA? Yes, we've agreed on price. So number 3, the last question is, do you want me to be the one to sell it for you? You know, so call the box-in technique. You can use that if they tell you that they want to think about it or they need time to think about it. But we can deal with a lot of that stuff when we do the objection handling call. So I hope that helped, you know. So it's just getting on the appointments. It's all good. This is all good, but you've got to do the activities to actually get on the appointments. And then the more appointments you do, I need to get on more appointments, but the more appointments you do, you'll get stronger, right? But what I would do is take this listing presentation and tweak it, change it, but I would script and role play it with somebody. Spend 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day running through. So that when you sit down with someone, you're not practicing on them. You've already internalized it and you feel confident running through it. All right. So
Steve, one more thing I want to piggyback on where you talked about the time frame. I know everybody has their own way of thinking how appointments should be. I think it's kind of I think it should be individual. I've done exactly what Abraham preached. I don't have a time restriction at all. I'm there to connect. That's why after being in the business for 18 years, 92% is my referral business of my sales. So that's come from that. If I go there, do a 20-minute presentation, get a listing, go put a sign outside, show up for the photo, do this, have 2 conversations before going in a contract, I'm not connecting. So I have taken a different approach from day one, thank God. And it's always benefited me in the long run.
Right. So I'm guessing the consensus is however long it takes is however long it takes. Right? Just don't get caught up. I mean, obviously, if it's a referral client, you know, you should still run the same processes. Don't shortcut the presentation. Don't shortcut the pre-qualification. Run the whole thing as if it was a standard client or a cold lead. You know, you just don't want to get caught up talking about their cat for an hour, and then they tell you they're interviewing another agent, because you know sometimes that can happen, right? So. Evelyn, what do you got?
My question is on the commission. So do you show those variables also on the listing document and also show it on the MLS as a variable commission structure?
Yeah, we do. So we've got language on the listing agreement that if you want, I can send to you. My info's in there. Just shoot me a text. But we have language on the listing agreement that exactly duplicates what's on that smart seller listing program.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Steve, on that variable commission,
Yes.
I'm assuming on the contract, you reference to, this is gonna be off the top of my head, page, section 8, when you talk about how the variable commission will work so that they know where it's coming from the contract. Okay. I'll throw some language in the chat. I'll grab it right now for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Michelle deals a lot with the contract stuff. So, but yes, all that language is in there.
And
So-
Evelyn, you're required to, if you're doing it as a variable commission rate, you are actually required to indicate in the MLS that it is a variable. You can be fined if you do not do that, because people will come back and say you had an unfair advantage that they were not aware of.
Understood. I'm pretty sure she does that, but thanks for the heads up, because we've been running that for a while. So I'll definitely check on that. So any other questions, guys? Evelyn again? What do you got, Evelyn? You're popular this morning.
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, all good. All right, guys. Well, if you want Tiff, let me know how you want me to get everything to everybody, whoever had requests. We'll
Once I
And
receive it,
then-
I can put it into the daily download and then make a post for everyone to go grab it. So for everyone, I appreciate you throwing your emails in here. I'm probably not going to be able to utilize them because of how we're going to distribute it. But for everyone that's still on the call, I will at least go pull the GPS Global Partners link for you so that you have it. And this is where it's going to be placed. At the very bottom, there's a button that says daily download.
Okay.
But thank you, Steve. Thank you for everything. And like I said, I already emailed Michelle, so I will follow up with her. Thank you,
Awesome.
guys. I'm gonna stop.